Street Fighter that they're like anything but Street Fighter. So tonight we are playing something different. We are doing horror. Horror returns to my streams. As you know, I really enjoy horror games. I always have, although maybe not the same as most other streamers and content creators. I'm not one of these people that is jumping and screaming and, freaking out every chance I get during a horror game. It's not about me, shrieking like a small child or a sissy trying to get entertainment value out of that. It's me actually enjoying the idea that there is something unnatural, unnerving, and not within the normal confines of reality going on. Reading the logs and trying to understand what's happening in a suspenseful horror game is actually one of the best parts of it. I mean, jump scares can be fun. I find them more funny than fun. When I actually get startled by a jump scare, I laugh at it because I know how funny it is. I don't really get scared by horror movies or, games like this. But people love to watch me play them because they say, hey, this is something that, by watching you, we can experience the game and enjoy it and not have to feel terrified. A lot of people, they don't want to play horror games by themselves because they feel so scared when they play them. So when I play a horror game, it's something a little special, a little different. And I like that. I like that I can be that avenue for many people to watch horror, okay? So I hope that you guys are ready for some chill fun tonight in Amnesia the Bunker, the latest entry from the Amnesia franchise, which is actually funny because I feel like we just played one. Like we played Amnesia Rebirth, right? I swear that was recent, but people are like, nah, Amnesia Rebirth was like fall 2020. I was like, fall 2020? Like almost 3 years ago? It seems like it was like a year or two ago. It really doesn't seem that long. But then again, I think that was the pandemic effect, wasn't it? That was the COVID effect where things just like screwed up time-wise for many of us. And everything that happened during that COVID era kind of got weirdly suspended. And it's like, how did they make another Amnesia game so fast? It's like, dude, it's almost 3 years later. Like, oh, I didn't realize that. So here we go. Tonight I'm excited for this. I hope you guys are too. This should be a good one. Amnesia Rebirth was good. Of course, a few weird things there at the ending stuff, but for the most part, a decently scary game. Some good puzzles, interesting lore, and I really enjoyed it. So I hope that you guys are ready for some more Amnesia tonight. I don't know how different this one will be from the previous 3 Amnesia games, which all have had a different vibe to them, It's kind of like an anthology, like a horror anthology, where it's the same series, but completely different plot every time. What do you guys have to say? So Rugal says, I hate those people that play horror games just to have forced reactions for every little thing. Yeah, and it's bad. Like, for example, this one time, before Dead Space Remake came out, okay? My wife and I said, well, let's rewatch Dead Space 1 before Dead Space Remake comes out, because then I can directly compare the original game to the remake and see the differences. And we started watching this dude, and this dude would not shut the fuck up. It was like every moment was a scream. It was like unbearable. And this guy is very popular on YouTube. He has tons of views and everything. I'm like, dude, I don't know how anyone could watch this. You can tell it's over-exaggerated, not natural reactions, just so people could laugh at the guy. And he gets tons of views on it. Like, dude, ugh, I can't stand that shit. So, yeah, I hope that you guys like my real playthrough of the game starting tonight. Yes, The Blimp, the last horror game we played was back in March. Resident Evil 4 Remake, correct? I think that was March, late March, early April. That was the last horror game. And before then, it was actually, I think, a while. You had Dead Space Remake in January. You had Callisto Protocol in December, right? Which are almost the same game. So there you go. Just a chance to do that. Willow says, how was dinner? Okay. So last week, my wife wanted to try a new recipe she'd never tried before. She wanted to make homemade meatballs, beef meatballs, in the slow cooker. So this isn't my meatball recipe where we make it in a pot of Italian marinara sauce and it simmers all day in the sauce. This is just the meatballs in a slow cooker. But she wanted to make it healthier, so she said, we're going to do the lower fat content meatballs. And I warned her. I said, no, when I make my Italian meatballs, it's 80-20 mix, 80, meat, 20 fat. I'm warning you, it's going to end up not being that good. She wanted, well, I want to try it anyway. So she got 90-10 and too dense, little dry, good flavor, but definitely not what we wanted. So this week, we got 80-20, all right? She makes them. It's like, oh, the meatballs taste good now, right? But because it was 80-20 mix, the fat was out of control and basically liquefied in the slow cooker. So that even though the meatballs tasted good, they were very fatty. And she goes, well, how are they so good when you make them? And I said, because I make them in a giant pot of Italian sauce, and they slow simmer all day. So even though they're 80-20 meatballs, the fat melts away into the sauce. You're talking a big-ass pot of sauce that's like 8 portions for dinner. So you don't taste it as much. Here, these meatballs, because you made them in the slow cooker, they just sat there in their own fat simmering all day, so now they taste fatty. And she was like, that's it, we're not doing these anymore. I said, all right. I thought they were all right, but they're like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. She says, we're going to go back to our old meatballs. We used to get these chicken meatballs that were really good. I said, I'm okay with that. I love the chicken meatballs, just that she was trying something new for 2 weeks. We couldn't nail it. So she's like, yeah, throw in the towel on this one. We'll go back to the old thing we were doing. These nice, delicious chicken meatballs. So